Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ground and Pound podcast, the show where, as always, we're hitting you with them elbows of knowledge. And the ultimate job interview is back here on the Ground and Pound podcast, Dana White's Contender Series Week 2. And as always, we're here on the Ground and Pound podcast to break down the whole entire card. I was going to say starting off with the early prelims, but we got a full main card here to break down. And as always, to break it down, I've got my co-host, Carlos. What's happening, Carlos?
Absolutely nothing, brother.
And we'll kick things off in the opening bout here between Brandon Holmes taking on Cam Roaston. And I'm going to kick this one over to you, Carlos. Who you got in this middleweight bout?
All right, in this fight, I think I went with Cam Roaston. Holmes is very technical in his striking. Holds a high guard. It's very weird. He doesn't catch and release with the high guard. He kind of just slips punches, and then he doesn't even really rip. He slips punches, but then brings his head back to center, and then he allows himself to get touched up a few times. So the technical aspect of it is a little awkward, but he does parry punches. He does slip his head every now and again. He works behind the jab, and he likes to throw that little inside leg kick. I just think that, Rouston, I think, has probably a little bit more to offer in the pocket. Like he's going to have to get this to the mat. He's going to have to implement the jiu-jitsu. He's going to have to stay on Holmes, kind of like human crazy glue, because his stand-up doesn't really look very impressive in comparison to Holmes. But Holmes doesn't have that big power to scare Rouston from coming in. And, I've watched a couple fights of Rouston, and he gets clipped sometimes by guys on the way in because he comes in. Not that he's reckless. It's just that defensively, he must be thinking, I got to get him to the ground. So he doesn't even look at the strike that's coming towards him. So he gets clipped coming in, and, he gathers himself, gets a takedown, and works from there. But against Holmes, he's got enough time to, come forward, slip a few shots, get him against the cage, clinch, and get him down. And once he's down there, he'll be all right. But Holmes, the gym that he's fighting out of, I think that was him that fought out of. I think I saw Jimmo on there. Did you remember seeing that or no?
No, I don't remember.
Okay. Anyway, so that's a former buddy of mine. Was Jeff Jimmo. That's right. And he opened up that school down there. I thought that was pretty cool to see that. So he comes out, Holmes, and he has a very solid base. That guy's not going to send anybody out there that doesn't know the complete game of MMA is what I'm getting at. So I'm sure he's got good, takedown defense. I'm sure he's got good grappling skills, and his striking looks sharp, but it doesn't look like something you should be worried about. But I'm going with Rouston. I think he can get this to the ground and get this done.
Yeah, nice segue here, actually, for me to talk about this. This is what I think this fight actually comes down to. And I've got to say, a good breakdown there from you. That's pretty much exactly how I see it, word for word. Cam Roaston trains over at City Kickboxing. And when you see his build and the way that he moves kind of on the feet, if you were to see this guy hit pads or see this guy kind of work the heavy bag, you'd look at him and think, tall, rangy kickboxer. This guy just likes to get fights to the ground, body lock, takedowns, trips, mat returns. He's looking to get fights to the floor. When it comes to the striking, he leaves his chin very high up in the air. And to me, obviously, when you watch that fight back with Tori and Finney, he was able to walk him down with kind of, pretty much whenever he wanted to, back him up, get the takedowns there, and obviously he was out-muscled and out-wrestled. Well, the thing here with Holmes that kind of has me a little bit puzzled is he obviously has fought the lower level of competition out of the two. Obviously, Roaston has a little bit more experience in terms of a level of opponent, along with having a lot more fights under his belt. But when I watch Holmes, he's pretty much just a kickboxer to me. He doesn't necessarily or hasn't implemented a whole lot of grappling. I haven't seen him defend takedowns, but I also haven't seen him implement any grappling. So that's a big question mark and a big kind of thing that I think is going to play a big factor in this fight. We know with Roaston, he is going to come in, he is going to look to grapple. And we've seen with Roaston as well that he does leave his chin up in the air. Maybe Holmes can find that chin. He hasn't, obviously, like I said, fought the higher level of competition in this matchup, which I do think could play a factor here, purely because of the fact that I do think that a lot of people might not be able to capitalize on some of Holmes's mistakes. Obviously, only 5-0 himself. He does have a tight left hook. He does have a nice body kick. He mixes up the targets well. He will go to the body and the head. But the big question mark to me is just, can Roaston get the takedowns, and does Holmes' grappling hold up? Obviously, Carlos said that his buddy who owns that gym, obviously he's teaching guys over there to be complete mixed martial artists. But until I see it happen and I see the tape of him defending takedowns, I got to go with Roaston here out of City Kickboxing to stop being a fake kickboxer here, get the takedowns, and ultimately maybe find a submission late. But I wouldn't be surprised if Holmes' grappling is actually there. I've just not been able to see it in the 5 fights of tape study this week. But 2 for Cam Roaston here to get it done. And next up, on the second fight of the night, we have Kashik Sakuma taking on Luis Lee Scott. And I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. Who you got in this bout?
I took Luis Lee Scott. You threw me off with Luis. I'm like, oh, all right. So Luis Lee Scott. Sakuma looks good in the striking department. He looks very patient, very relaxed on his feet, and I'm sure that comes from his background in kickboxing. He's never in a rush to land a strike. He's not throwing wild, crazy shots. He's not creating openings with his strikes. But with that said, he's also very low volume as well. And I was watching a fight of his that he had against this guy named Adamu Issa, and in that fight, I think Issa posed the same problem that Lee Scott here is going to pose as his movement. As much kickboxing background as Sakuma has, he needs you to stay in front of him, or he needs you to walk towards him in the striking department to be able to stay busy. And I think Lee Scott's bouncing around, is in and out, lightning Lee, as they call him, Lee Scott, as he's coming in and out pretty quickly. I don't think Sakuma is going to have an answer for that. Now, with Lee Scott, I did see a lot of good takedown defense against some decent opponents, and Sakuma does have a pretty legit ground game. And I saw some of the grappling tournaments online, like a couple of matches. He's very skillful, and if Scott doesn't, I haven't seen Sakuma's wrestling, but from the fights I've seen, I'm pretty sure that he doesn't have like a real grit takedowns, or he's going to get you up against the cage and foot sweep and power you into the ground. But I feel Lee Scott's got enough ability to, stay up on his feet, keep using that in and out movement. And I feel Sakuma actually wants to stay on his feet. So I think all roads there lead to Scott winning this. I don't think he's going to make that mistake that I saw in one of his fights where he's just going to stand right in front of Sakuma and let him get the opportunity to counter. I think Lee is a mover, and I think a lot of that speed and a lot of that power is going to catch Sakuma off guard. He may even catch a finish coming, because I do like how he darts in with his 1-2. So I'm taking Lee Scott.
Yeah, 2 for Scott here. And in the famous words of Dr. Evil, Scotty don't. If Scotty takes this fight to the ground, I think he would be a fool to do so. Sakuma, probably butchering that name, but Sakuma obviously trains over with Ryan Hall, Carlos Vera, the butt scooting team, the guys that love to roll for legs. Imanari rolls for days. He's a very methodical striker, I will say that. He definitely carries a decent amount of power, especially with the knees in the clinch. You saw in one of his fights that I watched for tape study that he's getting pretty much mopped and dropped, beaten up for 2 straight rounds, and then all of a sudden he gets into the clinch, he lands a big knee and ultimately wins by knockout in a fight that he was pretty much losing from start to finish. But obviously when it comes to implementing that grappling, he has a nice slick back take, can be low volume on the feet, obviously, because he does want to implement grappling. But like Carlos said, he doesn't necessarily have the wrestling to get fights to the ground. I haven't seen a whole lot of takedowns out of him. And to me, he just lacks a little bit of speed and athleticism. But when you talk about speed, Lightning Lee here, Lee Scott, he's going to eat lightning and crap thunder. Fought over in the PFL, won that fight by early head kick. He loves to switch stances. He has a nice, left high kick out of the southpaw stance. He'll blast the body with that or go upstairs like he did in the PFL fight that I saw. Fast footwork, nice striking overall, throws in combination. And he'll just blast kicks from the outside, which I think that is going to be a good weapon for him to use here against Sakuma, providing that he doesn't get any of those, kind of kicks caught or taken down. And the one thing that concerns me in this fight, and I was just saying this to Carlos, but when we were talking about this matchup, is I saw some fights with Scott where he'll be on top or his opponent will initiate grappling, and he'll be in the person's guard and he'll just roll for a leg lock in the person's full guard. And I'm just like, I don't want him to touch the grappling in this fight here against Sakuma. Beat him up on the feet, use your footwork, stay off the fence. Don't give him any easy takedowns here, Lee. And I think you win this one probably by knockout. I think he's got the speed, the athleticism here to, find the chin of a guy like Sakuma. Just avoid the ground like it's, just avoid the ground at all costs. I was going to say something stupid, but I'm not going to get clipped for that one. But yeah, I think Scott keeps this one on the feet. I think he uses his speed and his athleticism to win it with the striking here. 2 for Scott to get it done on Dana White's Contender Series. And next up, we have Uriel taking on Josh Hockett. And I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. Is he going to Hockett this weekend on Dana White's Contender Series?
I do like the name, the Incredible Hawk, to be honest with you. But yeah, he's going to get it done. And the reason he's going to get this done is he's another collegiate All-American wrestler. He's just going to gorilla the guy to the ground, bully him, take him down, back him up. It's not that he has like bad striking. He's still learning how to fight as well. So he's just got to throw a couple jabs. Once he gets that kid on his back foot, just take him down. Now, Uriel, one of the things that he's got to do is press, but if he presses too much, he's going to get taken down. Because if you watched him in any of his fights, he's got the ability to hurt people. He just doesn't know how to put it together. Like he's still learning too. So it's a good stage for both of them. I think Hockett's got the one up. He's just going to manhandle him and hold him on the ground, some ground and pound, get a finish, maybe we were talking a meathead choke, like a head and arm choke or an Americana. But I don't. Yeah, if Hockett doesn't win, I don't even know what to say. I still wouldn't give Uriel a contract. He's got a lot to learn if he were to win this, which he's not going to.
Yeah, I'm going with Josh Hockett as well. Every time I see that last name, all I can think of is Hock and spit on that thing. And that's what I think he's going to do on Tuesday night here against Uriel. I wasn't too impressed with either of these guys, but you can clearly see the skill set from Hockett. Obviously fought over in Bellator, 2-time All-American at Fresno State with the wrestling, former football player as well, and he does a good job of riding you from position to position. He'll stay in dominant positions, just beat you up from as he transitions. He's a little bit flat-footed in the striking, obviously not his main skill set, but he will look to do damage once he flattens you out. If he does take you back, he'll look to flatten you out and beat you up there. And I was overall, like Carlos said, impressed with his overall skill set in terms of what you kind of expect from a 5-0 heavyweight. He doesn't necessarily set up his striking. It can be a little bit lunging at times. But when you talk about, his opponent, Uriel, I mean, the guy has like snappy kicks from the outside a little bit. He'll get into brawls. I've seen him get beaten up in the one loss that he did have as well. He tends to load up and, really just kind of throw brawling shots. He's not necessarily looking to set anything up, just lunging at you. Everything's looping. Everything's very aggressive early, which leaves him very exposed with the chin. I think the over-aggressiveness is going to end up getting him taken down here by Hockett. And I just think that he's going to get this fight to the ground and beat him up early in round 1, and that'll be enough. I don't think that Uriel's going to have enough to be able to come back after Hockett gets the takedown early. If he decides to just stand and trade with the guy, then Hockett's obviously a big dumb animal, because he should basically just take this fight to the ground, beat him up, and get a contract with an early finish here. Dana's always looking for heavyweights. The heavyweight division, obviously, we know is not necessarily the most competitive, especially low down. I think Hockett comes in here, gets the takedowns, and ultimately wins this one with ground and pound. And if he doesn't, he's a damn fool, but we'll see here. 2 for Hockett on the Ground and Pound podcast. And next up, we have Tommy Koozie taking on Ramiro Jimenez. And I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. Who you got in this one?
I went with Jimenez. Koozie he's a game. He's willing to fight, on the feet. Looks good too, but when I think about it, I think he's fighting like some lower level opponents. And then when you watch Jimenez, he's kind of going to be the first real test for Koozie too. So it's going to be the Contender Series. You got Dana White, Shelby, all those guys are going to be there. So the jitters are going to have to be there. This is going to be his first real like resistance he's going to feel in the cage. At least that's what I think from watching the fights. And I don't think it's going to work as the UFC jitters or the nerves. Like it's a real thing, and I think he's going to catch a little of that. And I just think that Jimenez is a little too well rounded. Like besides saying well rounded, we can let that all go. I think he's a little too physical for him. I think he wants to get in those collision exchanges. He wants to stuff takedowns. Koozie, I don't know if he's actually going to take it to the ground. I haven't seen much of that in his fights, but he's going to want to stand up and bang, and Jimenez is going to want to trade with him. And I think he's actually going to get the better. I think he's going to bully him in there, and it might just be a learning experience for Koozie. That's what I think. But I think Jimenez has probably fought some tougher guys from the video we've watched, and I think he's just going to walk right through Koozie. But this may be where Koozie has a coming out party. So, you never know on the regional scene. You're fighting tomato cans, but maybe you have the ability to hang with somebody at a higher level. I'm still going to lead toward Jimenez. I think he's going to be a little bit of a problem in this matchup for him. So, taking him.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's Koozie or Cozy, but one thing's for certain. I think Tommy Cozy is going to get real cozy on the mat, either getting choked out or knocked out here by Jimenez. When you talk about the low level competition that Tommy Koozie has actually fought inside of his career so far, these look like people that are fighting for toenail clippings and a couple of bucks. It's not, it's not the high level that we've seen with Jimenez, and obviously coming into the Contender Series, we'll see what he's made of here, fighting a 10-0 prospect that looks pretty decent. He does have a decent ground game. He has nice sweeps, and he has very basic sort of, unathletic striking. He does try to stay pretty technical, but like Carlos said, the guys that he's fighting at this point, it's hard to really see anything when the guys that he's fighting don't look all that impressive. And like he said, this could be his come out party. He could be fantastic, but when you watch a guy like Jimenez, especially on tape study, he definitely looks like the more well-rounded, complete fighter. Combat Global featherweight champion, undefeated prospect, so he's obviously confident in himself, especially fighting the higher level guys, that he should come in and win this one. Nice left high kick as well. Times his takedowns very well, ducks under his opponent's shots. Very well-rounded finisher, can get it done on the ground or on the feet, which gives me confidence for Tommy Koozie to be getting real cozy on the mat. And he shows urgency to get back to his feet. So if Koozie is able to get the takedowns and snuggle him, he does show good urgency to get back to his feet. As I always say on the channel, this is going to be one-way traffic. This is a fight I feel like is going to be one-way traffic here. Give me Jimenez to find the finish, get the contract, and I think he's going to be one to look out for in the UFC. And the main event for Dana White's Contender Series, as always, before we break this one down, if you're enjoying the content here, hit that like and subscribe button as we break down Manuel Exposito taking on Jose Delano. And I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. Who you got in the main event?
I ended up taking Jose Delano. Esposito, he'll display heavy grappling, or at least try to. In this match, he's going to look to be comfortable for the rest of the game, open from start to finish in the stand-up. He looks a little tight in the stand-up. He looks like he starts out throwing a little heavy, a little wild, so that he can at least get you to the ground, but he just doesn't look comfortable there, whereas Delano appears to be more well-rounded, again, more skillful on the feet, but it looks like he has very good takedown defense as well. And Esposito's a little bull, and he's going to want to slam him up against the cage, probably just grab a leg for a single, take him down. But I just feel like Delano's got a lot of skill. He's going to be able to stuff those takedowns, and he's going to be able to keep this fight on the feet. And I didn't get to see a lot of grappling from Delano, so I don't know how he's going to do once he hits the mat. But I have seen a lot of takedown defense against guys trying to get him down, and he stuffed him. And those fights that I saw, they were actually pretty physical guys. Like, they were trying to bully him in the cage, and he ended up stuffing those and picking them apart on the feet. So I think that's going to be exactly what happens here. And you just never know. Like, Esposito, maybe he's able to just take down guys at will. Maybe he's a lot stronger than you think, but right now I feel a little bit I'm gonna lean towards Delano a little bit more. I think he can hurt him on the feet. I think he can stuff the takedown. I think he can make him tired. And yeah, it takes more energy to go for the takedown than to stuff it. So I see Delano getting this one.
Yeah, I do have to say both of these guys were pretty impressive doing tape studies. I could see both of these guys being in the UFC if I'm being honest, especially when you look at some of
Yep.
the lower level guys that, kind of come through on Contender Series and get weird matchups and get the knockout. Both of these guys looked impressive. And when you talk about Jose Delano, fights out of Brazilian top team, switches stances very nicely. Nice 1-2, nice counter left hand out of the southpaw stance. Very well timed. He times his opponents coming in beautifully, if I'm being honest. It's not that he, I think, possesses a whole ton of power. I think he's just been able to time a lot of his opponents as they come in, as he's getting his reads, seeing what they do, and he does a good job of finding the chin like that. Good knees in the tie clinch as well, stalks on the feet, and Carlos touched on it as well, and that's what I saw. And I noticed one of the commentary team on one of the tapes that I watched of one of his fights that they were saying that he'd fought two previous Dagestanis who come in heavy wrestling, heavy, takedown pressure, was trying to bully him in there. And Delano was able to defend those takedowns and ultimately win with the striking. And in this matchup here, I don't really see much of a difference in the game plan here for Exposito. I think he's going to come in, look to grapple. He is the owner and the coach of his own gym. And pretty much all of his style is just tenacious grappling, relentlessly looking for takedowns. And I've seen a few fights with Delano where that's the game plan that his opponents come in with, and he stuffed those takedowns and won with the striking, which is exactly what Carlos was getting at. And I have to agree. He does, when Exposito gets on top, he will look to do damage. On the feet, he does bounce in and out with the striking all the way in and all the way out, not necessarily sitting there in the pocket. But I just think that's he might be able to get the takedown like that, but I just think Delano's going to have the urgency to get back to his feet. I think sometimes when Exposito also gets frustrated, he'll throw like a flying knee, leaving his chin exposed just to kind of create, a car crash, just to give him opportunity for some sort of scramble or create some sort of clinch. But I do think that Delano, his technical striking, his timing, he can definitely find the chin of Exposito if he decides to throw a flying knee and leave his chin exposed. And I think that if not, he defends the takedowns and ultimately wins with the striking here. And obviously, if you're enjoying the content here on the Ground and Pound podcast, I have to let you guys know what's coming on the channel. We have the best bets for UFC 319. That video is live. We're on an absolute heater with the Slam of the Week. Check that one out, along with the full card breakdown for UFC 319. More detailed breakdown for you on this Saturday's pay-per-view card. Khamzat Chimaev taking on DDP in the main event. And obviously we have the dog of the week, my favorite betting underdog on the entire UFC 319 card. Full highlight reel tape for you guys. I got to say, I'm proud of this one this week. This video was pretty good. A lot of people I know have been talking about it this week, especially our guys over in there in South Africa, Carlos's boy. But before we break things down and let the people go, Carlos, do you have anything you want to say to the people?
Yeah, guys, I hope you're enjoying these breakdowns here. It's pretty rough, when you see these guys and you don't know the skill that they're fighting, the level of fights they have, but, we're doing the best we can. So hope you enjoyed. And if you did, like and subscribe.
Yeah, and absolutely. We appreciate all of the love we've been getting as well. Over 200 subscribers. We're happy with that. We want to keep that momentum rolling. We appreciate each and every one of you. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.